Hey everybody, thanks for joining me this afternoon for our craft during commercials shenanigans. I wanted to just do something fun with it being Super Bowl Sunday, and I decided to do a popcorn themed card. Our Poppin By Stamp Set is actually on the last chance product list, so it's going to go out of stock and will not be back. I will disclaimer here, I am using the dies in it, which are no longer available, but for time purposes, I've already got everything pre-cut. But we're going to also be using Poppy Parade Classic Stamp Pad and the Daffodil Delight Stamp Pad. And we will be using the low profile sparkle dots. We're only going to use the yellow ones that you see here. And then we also have our paper that we're using, which is Poppy Parade, Daffodil Delight, Basic Black, Basic White, Beautiful Bokeh, and then we're going to be using some window strips as well. As you can see on my piece of paper here, I have made some changes as I went along. The card kind of took a little twist on me, more than what I had originally planned, so I had to alter a few things as we go, but that's just kind of the way it works when we're designing cards as we go along. But I have those listed. They're corrected on the PDF file, which is available over on the hub. You can just download that and print it off with the corrected measurements, paper measurements. But nothing new as far as paper goes, just a couple of changes in the length of them. But I have all my paper pre-cut. I cheated a little bit, and like I said, I used the dies to cut out some of our little guys here, so I don't have to sit here and fussy cut everything out with you guys and just take up more time. The goal is to craft during commercials and enjoy the Super Bowl. So let's not make it any longer than we have to. Now, this card does have a little surprise to it. I'm going to clear this off a little bit. This isn't just a standard open up, there you go card. It pops open, and this is where part of the alterations go. I cut mine too long, and I did fix that in the measurements. But you pop him open, and his little popcorn pops out. So it's really quite a fun card to do, and it's actually, believe it or not, really kind of simple to put together. Like I said, I hammered out all the little boo-boos with the measurements, because as you can see, that was kind of hard to put in there. But that's because I cut it too long originally, but I fixed it, so we're good. But we are also using, I forgot, the Happy Labels Pick-a-Punch, which is also available, and that's how we're going to make our little top here look like a ticket. So we'll also need that punch. I did actually forget about that. Oops. Anyway, so let's get down to work here and create this adorable Poppin By card. Now I have, like I said, I have everything all pre-cut already. Window sheet, I did figure out exact measurements, so it's not just a scrap strip of window sheets now. You're going to need 3 pieces of the window sheet, all at 1/2 inch, one at 1 inch, one at 2 inch, and one at 3 inches long. So pretty easy measurements there. And then you guys can just see all my little chicken scratches here. Let's go with the basic white. Cardstock is now 3 3/4 wide by 8 7/8 inches long. Originally it was I think 9 3/8, but we had to cut back 1/2 inch for that. But otherwise, the 3 5/8 by 4 1/8 is still the same. And then I added some little pieces here. We have the, what did I add? Where did it go? There it is. 1/2, 1.5, or oh my goodness, words are really hard today. 1/2 inch by 7/8 of an inch. And then I also have, and these are optional, 1/2 inch by 4 inch, and you need 3. I apparently have 4, which is fine for that. And those are added. They weren't originally on the list. And then also you'll need some scrap pieces to stamp on. And then for the basic black, I cut that way back. It's only going to be 3/4 of an inch by 2. Originally on this card, I used the dies, the coordinating dies, to make the film strip, and then his little shoes. Because the dies are no longer available, I omitted that completely in this video, so you guys don't have to worry about that. Obviously, we'll not put his little shoes on, which is too bad because they're really cute. But we're also not going to use the film strip. Instead, we're just going to replace that with the basic black. Now, if you wanted to, you could get this look by using the pokey end of your take your pick. You could use this and just poke it straight through onto your paper to create the holes. I'm not going to do that this time, but it is an option that you could do to get that effect if you wanted to. So now the beautiful bokeh, the sizes didn't actually change on this one. So it's 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. I don't know why I scratched it out, but that's a me thing. And then you're also going to need 2 pieces at 7/8 by 3 5/8. Set that aside, and then you're going to need Daffodil Delight. It did not change at all. It's still 2 by 4.5 inches. And then the Poppy Parade is the other change. It is 4 by 10.5 versus the 4 by 11 that was originally stated. So that also went back a 1/2 inch. And again, that all comes down to this little mechanism that goes in to hold it together. That's just really hard to open and close, so I discovered. So we're going to shorten it just to make it a little easier. Let's see, where are we at? We're also going to need, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but we're going to need the real red and white baker's twine as well. And then for adhesives, I am using Stampin' Dimensionals and glue. So let me grab a piece of white because I forgot that as well. I guess you could say I wasn't very prepared, but that's okay. Okay, now we're going to start off by stamping. We're just going to get all that inky stuff out of the way. That way we don't have to worry about it. We can put our ink away and be done. So for the stamping, you're going to need your 3 3/4, nope, I'm sorry, 3 5/8 by 4 1/8 basic white, and then your scrap pieces. And this would be the time to also stamp the envelope. We're also going to need the larger one, the 8 7/8 piece, as well as the little itty bitty one for the sentiment. I like to do it so I get everything done and out of the way, and I'm only going to use one color at a time because I don't want to mix my red and my yellow. I did that earlier and it ended bad. It came out with a funky orange. So we're going to start with the Daffodil Delight. And with this, we're going to stamp all 3 little pieces of popcorn on a scrap piece of paper. I'll just ink them up and stamp them on. All 3 of them. Now, because I use the dies to cut mine out, these little lines here, they are not on the dies, so that doesn't really matter if you get that or not for this particular one, because if you fussy cut them out, you don't want to have to try to cut around those little dots either. And then we're also going to stamp the popcorn guy, and he's going to need to be done twice. I don't have a big enough paper. Here we go. Now, why we're doing it twice, I will show you. There's multiple different ways that we can do different colors, and I found this one to be the easiest. So we're going to go ahead and stamp him twice. And that's that. We are all, nope, we're not done. You could stamp your envelope. On mine originally, I just stamped a little one in the corner here. And grab one. Let's see, I have it stamped here in the corner. I'll just grab an envelope and do it again, because I will forget later. Just like that. Super simple. And then we're going to grab the cleaner to clean the, you can clean all your stamps, or you can just clean the other, the ones that we're going to need immediately, which will be the popcorn box, because we're going to stamp him in red. But before we do that, I need to stamp the inside. I'm going to finish with the popcorn. Kind of got ahead of myself. We'll set that back there. All right, so we'll go ahead and do the popcorn real quick for the inside of the card. And you're going to want to use this little smiley guy, the one with the smile, or you can choose whichever one you want, but I thought he was the better one. When we're going to stamp him here in the center of our 3 5/8 inch piece, try to get it kind of centered as much as you can. Just like that. And then on my inside piece, I'm just gonna, down here, I'm actually gonna use all 3 of them again. It was kind of cute last time when I did that. Just down here at the bottom of the inside of the card. There. And we are done with the red. Or the yellow, I'm sorry. Time to move on to the red. Now we're, like I said, we're using Poppy Parade. Adhesive all over my tray. We're going to use Poppy Parade, and we're going to do 2 of the popcorn bucket again. And then we're also going to do our sentiments in red as well. So let's start with the popcorn bucket. I just recharged my Poppy Parade, so we'll see if this wants to cooperate today. Oh, much better. The original one, you can really see that it's not. The ink was definitely needed to be recharged. You can see how light that is compared to the one that I just did. So that goes to show I need to pay more attention to how charged the stamp pads are. And we're going to use 2 different sentiments in this card. For this one, on the first one I only used the one, but I decided to change it up again. And we're going to use the no one's better than you, and then the poppin' in to say hello. But we're only going to use part of the poppin' in to say hello. We're going to actually ixnay the hello part. You could use a masking paper to cover that, or a post-it note, or just not ink it up and line it up. I'm going to go ahead and throw a post-it note on there. I could use my masking paper, which normally I would, but I don't want to dig it out. Well, he just doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. And then I'm just going to kind of stamp it so the hello is off of the ink pad. And that post-it note's just there to grab it just in case. Then we're going to stamp that directly on our little piece of white. And if you wanted to and you weren't comfortable with having that, because I know that's kind of close to the edge there, what you could do is, grab my extra piece here, is just stamp the whole sentiment onto your basic white. And then when I get the scissors out, I'll just snip that off so it's down to size. We're actually going to use that piece because I don't like the way that one lined up. So that is another way you could do it, a bit of a simpler way. And then on the inside for this piece, we're going to stamp the no one's better than you. We're going to kind of do it down a little ways because this is going to fold into a little box. So you're going to want to make sure you're at least an inch down from there, from the top score line. There. And that is it for stamping. Okay, so now at this point, I would fussy cut out all of these parts and pieces. But I cheated and I used the dies. There's my 3 little popcorns right there. And you could just, again, simply fussy cut them out just by going around the edges. It's really not too complicated. And then our little popcorn buckets as well. I guess I could cut one real quick to show you how simple it is to actually do the fussy cut around them, because they don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be right up next to it. You just kind of cut around them. And they really don't take long at all to do. And we're going to alter the buckets anyway, so I went ahead and cut that sentiment piece. I used my paper trimmer to cut it down. I had to pause, the dog was barking, but I went ahead and cut that down. That's the same size as the original piece, the 1/2 inch by, what is it, 1 inch and 7/8. So that's all complete. But there's that, all fussy cut it out using your paper snips. So like I said, it's really not that hard to do with it. Doesn't take long. Sometimes you get a better alignment with it. I didn't. You can see how I kind of got off the stamp a little bit there when I ran the dies, and that's not that way. So sometimes using your scissors is better. But now we're going to alter our popcorn buckets, because you can see in the original I have red and yellow. You could take your Stampin' Up markers, which are no longer available, but if you have them, you could take them and just color them in. The stamp itself, you could color the lines red, and then the popcorn with the Daffodil Delight. You could even do his eyes black and his feet black. I did not want to do that. I didn't want to take the time to do that, to be completely honest. I did do that on another one, that on a sample that I did exactly that, and I'll show you that when we're all done here. But the simplest way to do this is to cut out your popcorn, and then we're just going to snip the bottom of him off on both, because all we need is the little popcorns there. And then we're going to kind of do the reverse thing here, but a little bit better. You're going to want to make sure it's not just a straight line. Just kind of follow the little curves there and cut off the popcorn. So when you're fussy cutting them, if you're not using dies, you can just, when you fussy cut them out, just omit those as you're going along. Might make things just a little bit easier. And you know, I had somebody ask me one time how I know where to cut when I do my fussy cuts, and I just kind of having a big brain moment here. This is kind of the ideal time to show you guys that I know that we no longer have our red rubber stamps, but they're still pretty common. And there's a couple different ways you could do that. Again, most people just eyeball it, but sometimes even I struggle with where do I place it. So what I do to make it just a little bit easier on myself, especially if I can't decide placement-wise where I want it to go. I take the scrap piece that goes around, you know, that the stamps come in, and I simply place it. And this is a good example because of the popcorn. How close do you get? Where do you need to cut on that? I just kind of center that up and then grab my pencil and trace around it to give myself a cut guide. And that's kind of in the similar shape that I would need to cut out. So I would grab my snips and cut around that. You know, you can cut in on the inside of it to make it a little smaller if you wanted to, but it just kind of gives you a guide kind of situation. You can see with the die cuts, you know, it's really not that far off on placement. So it's just a little trick that I use occasionally with the red, or with the photopolymer stamps, the non-red, the non-cling stamps. You can also, with those, because you can see through them, you could lay the stamp over it and then do the same concept. Just kind of trace around it and then fussy cut around. So there's my little trick of the day for you. Now we're going to finish building our little popcorn guys. I'm going to grab my glue or your adhesive of choice. I use glue because it's more forgiving. The tape and I don't get along very well. I do use it. We just have arguments frequently. I'm going to glue those together. I'm going to line him up as best as I can over the yellow edges. So now you have a two-toned, you have yellow popcorn with a red bucket. It's just that simple. And I'll do it with the other one. Now the one I have on the inside, I did cut his feet off, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You don't have to. It's kind of a preference thing. I did it just because. I'm just not going to this time. We're just going to leave him that way. We're really going to make it different than the original. Okay. So one of these little guys is going to go in the middle, in between our two popcorn pieces that we already put. And to do that, we're going to use the dimensionals. And place him right in the middle, just like right about there. And since we're here, we're going to go ahead and finish off the front with the sentiment, which we're going to attach to our basic black, and then we'll put that below the popcorn guys. Like that. And I did give you the measurements, so you do have enough room on the top and the bottom to do the same effect. Like I said earlier, you could poke it with your take your pick to get this effect here. If you do have the dies and you're using the dies to get this, so it was one solid thing, I just snipped off the two ends there and then just glued them together and made the area a lot bigger. And then we're going to glue that below, right there in the center. I'll go ahead and attach him to this. And then I believe we are ready to fully assemble the card. I'm going to do one more. I have a tendency to work in preparation scales, so all I have to do when I'm ready to assemble is just go. It's all there, it's all done, and we can just put it all together, put on the final touches, and be done with it. Which is kind of what we're going to do here, I think. Just to make things go a little quicker, we're going to attach our little popcorn guys to the tops of each one of the little strips here. It doesn't matter what order, doesn't matter how. It's, again, a preference thing. To do so, we're just going to simply add a little glue to the strip and put your little popcorn guy on there. And that's that. And these are the elements on the inside of the card that are going to pop up when they open the card. Oops. I have glue on my finger, so everything is sticking to me. And by doing the heights different, when we open the card up, he's going to be, they're going to be different heights when they come in on the card. Just to add a little bit more dimension to it, I think. We'll set that over there. That goes on the inside. Glue everywhere again. Where are we at? So now we're going to fold our card base at the score line, which is the normal score line, the 5.5 inch score line there. And because we're going to have the card upside down, you want the fold at the bottom, and we want the short side, the 1/2 inch shorter side facing up, because that's going to be where we tuck it under. Now, keeping that in mind, we're going to go ahead and, no we're not, because I got to add that first. So we're going to set that aside. And we're going to grab our 2 inch, 2 by 4 1/4. And he is scored at 1 inch. So score it straight in half. And then we're going to fold that. And this is the tuck and fold holder. I don't know what else to call it. We're going to punch both ends using the Happy Labels punch. We're going to use the one that looks like a ticket. Now I have you fold it first because this only goes an inch wide. So you can only go an inch at a time, and it's just easier to go both at the same time versus trying to glue 2 different ones together. And it does slide in there, okay, even with the double layer. And it cuts really simple. And we'll flip it and do it again. Make sure, if you want, you can check and make sure it's all lined up. Now by doing that and cutting these little tips off, we now shorten this down to 4 1/4. So this is the actual standard width of a card, which is why our card base is a little smaller to make it fit in the envelope, in a standard size envelope. Otherwise we'd have to go with the next bigger size, and nobody wants to do that. That's just too much work. Too much drama. We'll set that aside and grab our larger piece of basic white. And for this one, it's, again, we shortened it by a 1/2 inch. So it is, let me grab my notes. It is 3 3/4 by 8 7/8. And then we score it at 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is where we're going to create the little box here. It's just going to fold up into that, just like that. Well, he just doesn't want to stand. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and create our box. To do so, I'm going to start with the bottom or the middle score line, and then I'm going to work my way out with folds. You can do it however you prefer. This is my preference way to do it. I like to work from the inside out. I'm just going to crease all those down. Like that. And ignore the phone call. On that end tab on the inside inside piece, or on the, I guess it would be the outside of it, we're going to fold him down just like that. So you should be able to fold it flat when you line up that glue panel. To get a good and sticky on there, I'm gonna run that through. So now I should be able to fold that either direction, like that. And then we are done with that. Okay, so now we are ready to fully assemble our card. And we're going to go ahead and attach the inside before we do the outside. And the reason we're going to do that is because this has to be glued in two different places to get that pop, so it pulls this up. We need to glue this to the top portion of the card as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, some might find it easier just to glue the bottom portion on first so you can get it good and aligned. If you choose, that's totally fine. That's actually what I'm going to do, because I want to line that up, that fold up with the score line of the card. Try to get it as centered as possible. And then we're going to put adhesive here on this flap. And I'm just going to bring that over and down. Now, the first time I put this together, I kind of freaked out because I was like, wait, you just did that upside down. And no, because you want it to fold this way at you so it popped back up the other direction. So if you feel like you're doing it backwards, you are, but you're doing it the correct way, because now it pops up. And then we're going to, you know what, let's just go ahead and finish the inside. Now we're going to add our three little strips that I added. You don't have to do this, it's purely optional. I just thought it was cute. Just kind of a little added touch to it, to make the inside look more like a popcorn bucket. So it's just kind of a cute little thing, and I'm just going to attach those sporadically. Originally I tried to do it so they were, perfectly aligned, but yeah, it was a lot of work. And it's okay if they're a little crooked. Not evenly spaced. It's a popcorn bucket. What do you expect? And like I said, this is purely optional. It's just kind of an aesthetic thing. But it does make it cute. So I highly recommend it. Alright. And now we're going to add our three little popcorn guys. And these guys are going to, it's hard to show you how to do it. You're going to go attached to this front piece here all the way down. So 1, 2, 3. If you don't want them so they're all, what's the word I'm looking for, uniformed and going up, you don't have to. In fact, I'm probably not going to. And don't worry about the glue being seen through the plastic, because we're going to actually cover that up. So I'm going to go ahead and put mine on. And like I said, I'm not doing mine in order because that's just boring. I just got a fussy dog today. And then the last one. I'm going to put him in the middle. Just like that. Oops. It's kind of hard for you guys to see this way. I have to work over it. Okay, so now we're going to add our little strip of piece of paper here, our little DSP. And these are the pieces that I added onto the list, the 7/8 by 3 5/8 times 2. And we're going to use those to cover that. So it kind of covers up the plastic strips there, the window sheet. Kind of hide the magic a little bit, I guess. Can't reveal all our magic secrets, can we? Just like that. And then you could do this prior to adding them, which I probably should have, but it's okay. We're going to add that to the top, or you can admit it completely. You don't have to put it on there if you don't want to. You could leave it so it's all white, just like that, like the bottom of the bucket, I guess you could say. Which actually is kind of a clever idea, but too late, already did it. I'm committed now. And then we have one more piece to add to the inside of the card, and that is our last little popcorn bucket. And he's going to attach somewhere down in here. On the original card, I have him way over here in the thing, or in the corner. I think I'm going to put him in the middle this time. They're kind of off-centered. Maybe like that. Just kind of play around, see where you want to put him. And this is where I cut the feet off to make him go all the way down to the ground, but I'm not going to do that this time. Like I said, we're just going to make him completely different, because no two cards are ever the same. No matter how hard you try, something's always going to be different. All right. So that's the inside of the card, all done, just like that. And then we have these little pop-up guys. So we're just going to go ahead and fold him shut, just like that. And now we can add our front cover. And you're going to want to go towards the bottom of this, because we're going to hide the top up a little bit. You're not going to be able to see that, so you want to align him at the bottom of the card. And like that. And now we're going to attach our ticket. I'm going to flip the card over completely, and we're going to glue just one side of the ticket piece on the inside. Just one. You don't need both sides glued, because we're not gluing it together. We're going to attach that, kind of line it up. So the non-glued side goes on the inside of the card, and then fold that down as centered as possible. Maybe we don't want it just like that. So that attaches there. So that part won't move now. That piece is stuck there. It's not gonna to move. And now we can add our twine to kind of hold it shut. And like earlier, I said that we were going to use the real red and white baker's twine. I honestly cannot tell you how much you need, because I don't know. I don't measure normally on a normal basis. But if you'd like to know, we can certainly do that before I tie it off. I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway room here. And I'm just going to use the little notches here on the ticket as a guide to notch that in. And I'm just going to crisscross it out. And then I will tie it off here. Let's go ahead and do a quick measurement. That way you guys can kind of get an idea on how much twine you need. see, 26, 36, about 36, 37 inches of the twine is what you'll need to wrap that all the way around and tie off. That, of course, is giving you some wiggle room. I don't know if everybody struggles the way I do with tying things, but the struggle is real. And I'm going to go ahead and tie that off in a bow. It doesn't matter which side you tie it on. I think between my mock-up and my sample and this one, they're all tied in a different location on the card. Tie the bow off. And then we can straighten him out a little bit. Maybe, if I can find the end. There we go. Oops. There we go. And then we'll trim it up so he's not flopping around everywhere. Just like that. So now our card is basically put together. All we're missing is the little bling to it, I guess you could say. And for that, we're going to use like the low profile sparkle dots. We're only going to use the yellow because they're the ones that match the closest to the card. And we are going to just add a couple of them if they want to come off the plastic. There we go. I think these are cute because they kind of look like little popcorn seeds flying around. This is what it made me think of. And just like that, all done. So now you have your pop-up surprise card. And we can pull that out. And that does work a lot easier with it being shorter. And there you have it. That is the pop-up, what did I call it? Let's Get Poppin surprise card. There we go. That's what I called it. So now I did say I had some samples for you on how other ways you can use the stamp set. And we'll grab those really super quick. I have a couple cards and then a couple gift holders, or popcorn holders actually. I've got this one that holds a mini bag of popcorn. He just pulls out here just like that. So it's like you're pulling out the ticket to get your little mini bag of popcorn. It was super fun, super cute. I'll probably be giving these out for Valentine's Day to the kids because they like their popcorn. And then I have this little box that also holds a bag of popcorn. This one has a full-size bag. Now, a full-size bag will fit in that other one, but it's a little bit too thick. This one would be kind of, the coloring on this one is perfect for Easter. As a kid growing up, I remember getting popcorn balls that were colored. So I kind of took a spin off of that and I colored in my little popcorn bits to match, to coordinate the purple and the green and the yellow. Just this nostalgia kind of thing, I guess. But that's a cute little gift box there. And then we have the pop card. And I used our alphabet dies for that to cut that out. And here on the sides is where I used my pierce tip to get the little effect of the movie runner. Like I was saying, you could do there. So that's just a cute little pop card. And then last I have a black and white throwback card. This one just cracks me up. I'm sure others are probably looking at this laughing. When I showed my mom, she thought it was hysterical. She just started laughing hysterically because she remembers the little popcorn guys dancing on the movie screen. But this, again, it's a throwback. It's a nod to our past. It's just a happy birthday card. So a lot of fun and cute things you can do with this stamp set. And again, it is on the last chance product list. So if you are wanting it, I advise you to grab it now. If you already have it, the options are limitless. You can use it for so many different things, birthdays, anniversaries, just because as you can see, you can do the different You know, you can do black and white, you can do bright and poppy, or you could do pastel-y, soft and gentle. So there's so many options with it. So that is all I have for you guys. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I hope this will help pass the time for you. And we will see you next time. Happy stamping.